This is what the Russian world, or the Russian peace, as they called it, looks like. My first question is about the last Ramstein meeting. How can you comment on this situation?
We really hope that the international community has heard Ukraine's call and that all European and international communities recognize that Ukrainians are protecting more than just their country today. Ukrainians are defending world democracy, understanding, culture, and the knowledge today. Since halting the enemy attacking Ukraine today means preventing a war that spreads throughout the whole of the world. And so the world community needs to help Ukraine with all the armaments that it has. Because Ukraine is paying with its blood, with the lives of its own people. We all need to understand that we are asking for arms today, not so we can attack someone or bring anyone harm, but we are asking for these just for our defense. Compare the countries and see who is at war with Ukraine. Ukraine is a large country on a European scale, but in comparison to our adversary, we're a small country. Small, but valiant and proud, capable of halting the enemy itself, but with the help of your weapons. What is the importance of the Leopard tanks? For us right now, it's not only important for us to have surface weapons and armored vehicles, but for us it's important to have defense against missiles, and it is critical that we maintain an air defense against the enemy. When we're talking specifically about these tanks, it's because they are specifically a part of the military operations which we have to conduct on the ground. The enemy has occupied parts of our territory, and now we're not able to liberate this land only with artillery, or with fighter jets, or with just one kind of weapon. We need to liberate our land with armed machinery on the ground. However, we once again turn back to comparing the countries at war. In comparison, Russia, in comparison to Ukraine, has its population 5 times larger. So, hypothetically, if Russian infantry meets the Ukrainian infantry, they have 5 times more the strength, because the population of Russia is 5 times larger. And so our people must be protected with all of these commandments. And so our people have to be driving these tanks to get rid of the enemies which are coming at us with very powerful armory. So the Leopard tanks, they are important for Ukraine because they can be serviced here in Ukraine, and it's more important than other tanks such as Challenger because of this. Of course, we think about how these armoured vehicles are going to be used, and here we talk specifically about these tanks, which will be arms used directly in a fight. And these ones can have some kind of wreckage and then be serviced on, and this is why we're talking exactly about these, because it gives us immediately the opportunity to repair these and send them straight back into the battle. It's extraordinarily important because time in war is of the essence. Because if we waste time, we are also risking the lives of many of our military personnel. We are now hearing from many of our partners and experts from the West that this is an extremely important, we're hearing it from the Pentagon and the British intelligence. I want to ask you, do you think this is some kind of turning moment? And if yes, then why? Well, I think that in war there are many different turning points, because war operations is not just as straightforward as one line where everything goes in one way. Instead, there are many turning points and turning moments which change the situation.
Я не вважаю, що ось цей момент зараз надзвичайно критичний.
I don't think right now that this moment is extremely important, but I do think it is a turning point. If everyone were to join in and help us, I think now, almost at 1 year when the whole country has been on edge, when our country has lost so much of its resources, when so many people are currently living under occupation, and then a psychological moment arrives, and this moment of arrival is close now with the date of the 24th of February is upon us, and we will understand that we have been in war for 1 whole year. People will start to psychologically need change. It's exactly the same as New Year. We mark the New Year always with hope that we can start again from the beginning, everything will be different. And we can move forwards just like this moment. It could be psychologically key. If we were able to receive all of these arms, it will imply that they believe us and all of our resources and energy was not in vain. And with all the support, we will be able to break the course of events in our favor, in an irreversible way. Now this is a question to you about Odessa. We live in Odessa, love Odessa, we're here right now. And what is the threats to Odessa right now? At this moment in time, Odessa is still a priority place for the enemy. If you remember about the address of Putin on the 24th of February, at the start of the large-scale invasion, special attention was paid directly to Odessa in his address, and he highlighted it as a important spot for him, and the south remains a very tempting place for them. They fantasize about shutting Ukraine off from the sea. As a result, the sequence of events generated by our leadership, the development of our armed forces on the right bank, which successfully pushed the enemy to the left bank, did not fit in to their plan. Of course, they weren't expecting us to react so forcefully and push them so far away, so they're still clutching at the smallest opportunity. The Kinburn stream, and they are refusing to retreat from there. They are holding on with everything they've got by their teeth and their legs to not have to retreat. That is why they continue to terrorize the entire country of Ukraine with their ships located in the sea. With the south, in general, they were hoping on having the support from the inside, the population of southern Ukraine, thinking they would support them and welcome them with loaves of breads and flowers. However, instead, they were faced with the fact that in Kherson and Mykolaiv, these people are not waiting for the so-called Russian world. They didn't need it. They had already built the lives they wanted to live themselves. It's an additional part of democracy that the Russians didn't understand.
що українці настільки
They were completely unprepared for the fact that Ukrainians are so self-sufficient. They understand what's going on and prepared to defend their statehood, as they don't have any aspirations for an empire. For them, it's not needed.
такої потреби. І незважаючи на те, що зараз на півдні існують ворожі прошуки,
And despite hostilities now in the south, where they are attempting to create channels for some informants,
якусь диверсійну роботу,
our counterintelligence is counteracting these attacks, and we are exposing these people and holding them accountable, stopping their activities which are in the interest of the enemy.
інтереси ворога. І це знов-таки дивує ворога, тому що вони розраховували на інше. Вони розраховували, що завданням ракетних ударів на початку,
Which again really surprises our enemy, because they were really not expecting this. They were counting on the fact that they would strike with missiles at the beginning and then use reconnaissance and sabotage operations. And then Odesa, Mykolaiv, Kherson would welcome them, and they wouldn't have to spend their resources of fighting here. But this didn't go quite to plan. Kherson is experiencing quite an awful situation there. We were both there. But now, what are the perspectives in how you think now that the Ukrainian armed forces should get rid of the Russian forces there? Well, it starts with we have a really important need for long-range air defense missiles. Today, the southern front is distinguished by its crossing of the Dnieper River. The distance and this obstacle in the form of a river is a really powerful river, strong and wide in nature, and it makes combat operations extremely difficult.
Дуже ускладнює бойову роботу. Нам потрібна далекобійна зброя. Зараз іде контрбатарейне протистояння. Їх зброя проти нашої зброї. Зараз нема тут фізичної.
Long-range weapons are required because there's a counter-battery confrontation now going on. Their weapons versus our weapons. There's no kind of physical fighting, no face-to-face fighting, only counter of arms. But now we need the weapons which is possible of striking the enemy so that they can no longer reach us with their weapons. It's really important for the world community to understand this, that what they do is these missiles are fired, and they are fired indiscriminately at everything. They are just firing at the right bank, not choosing any kind of specific coordinates, not focused on whereabouts they are wanting them to. They are simply showering us with missiles. And of course, we can't answer these attacks because there lives our people under occupation on the left bank of the Dnieper River, and our infrastructure and essential facilities which are all present there, and that the devastation will be catastrophic if further developments were to occur. Crossing a river whilst at war is an extremely difficult task and has, throughout history, resulted in massive losses. It's a highly complex military operation, and this is the reason, or one of the reasons, why the military command is not carrying out this action right now, because they are doing this to avoid losing people. As we know from modern combat, long-range precision weapons are capable of destroying the opponent in that kind of region, but they have to be high-precision weapons because there is our citizens, so that our strikes land exactly where the enemy is located, as well as weapons, ammo, and equipment. And when we can establish such a continuous fire control, they won't be able to approach the distance from which they can shell Kherson. I remember here Alexander Kolyvenko, and he's an expert, and he said that it's always important to strike the logistics, because if you strike the logistics, they are not able to wage war. This kind of tactic was used when we were liberating the right bank, hitting bridges but not destroying infrastructure. We understand that these bridges, they're ours, it's our infrastructure, and we were not destroying them like they were, like the enemy. We were destroying them in such a way that the enemy wasn't able to use them, so that they were not able to drag their reserves to these places, so that they were only left to flee the right bank, because they had nowhere they could get extra resources from. They were forced to retreat back to those places where they could regroup. And right now we are conducting the same kind of operations on the left bank, but we haven't got enough missiles of a long-range type, which is needed for us. What systems exactly are required by the Ukrainian armed forces? Those high-precision systems which they gave and we used in order to liberate the right bank. So, such as HIMARS and howitzers, as well as high-precision shells like Excalibur, which can hit with pinpoint accuracy. What is your expectation and forecast of what is yet to happen? What do you think and what do you hope for? Honestly speaking, people frequently accuse me of being a witch, not because I'm terribly frightening, but because I know something and it almost always comes true. I want it to happen this way, and if it's just a series of events and it happens like this, then okay. It's only for the best for my country and for the whole world. And so, of course, I want to foresee the Ukrainian victory, and it will be without any doubts, and I want to see this support from Ukrainians as a nation which took on a huge task without it being our desire. I want to predict, and I state now unequivocally that we will receive the reward that we deserve, and it's peace in our own home. There is no doubt that there will be our victory and that we will have the support from our partners and the continuation of our friendship with them.
This reminds me of a song, The Curse of the Witch.